Hey guys, welcome back to Festival Insider Podcast. I'm Emma Capotis.
And I'm Michael Julian.
What's up, you guys? We took a little bit of a break, but we're back and we're really excited to be here. And we have an amazing guest today that I think all of you are going to be really excited to hear from and hear his story. MJ, you want to give a little background on Disco Donnie?
Sure. Yeah. Excited to have Donnie with us today. He is a legend in many ways, and he'll be here to tell the story, but I know we only have an hour, so we're probably going to get like 2% of it, and I hope we'll get some funny anecdotes from him, but if not, we should bring him back again and do like part 2. But I've met Donnie actually I think in Mexico City for the first time, because we did Electric Zoo there, and he was a partner. So we did it together, and there was this guy who walked in wearing a pretty funky outfit, and that was him. And I've grown to really love him and respect him. He's a good guy, really cares about what he does and the community and the fans and the artists, and he's built a lot of amazing value. And he's doing like 1,000 shows a year with I don't know, 30 partners all over the country. He does a lot of festivals at this point, and most recently he had to go through this challenge of relaunching the very first post-COVID festivals with a lot of media and government issues and challenges that he's overcome. I know his team very well. There's a really one of the better people in the industry. I can tell you, he's must be a great leader to have them all together. And I'm really looking forward to talking to him.
Agreed. Yeah. And this is really special because there's very few people who have been in the industry this long, like you said, who have gone through so many different changes, and his career has changed so much over the years, and his team is amazing. And the events they put on over the years to now are really incredible. And he's a persona himself. I love following him on Twitter. If you guys aren't already, you should be. So yeah, please join us in welcoming Disco Donnie to the podcast. Oh, nice to meet you first and foremost. I'm like really excited to chat with you today. And MJ and I kind of took like a hiatus for a little bit, and this is going to be the first episode back in like a month and a half. So we're coming out with a bang, I think. So this will be really exciting.
Nice. Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah. I know you're probably busier than ever before. So we appreciate you taking the time today. And first off, congratulations on having the first festival back. That was a huge moment.
Yes, thank you. It's official. I have a trophy. So
exactly. Yeah. I love
it. Finally, highlights of a career.
Finally, some recognition.
Right. No. We just want, for some context into this podcast in particular. So we're like really trying to bridge the gap between the fans who want more industry knowledge and, having these conversations so they can kind of see a little bit more behind the scenes and like actually understand what's going on.
Okay.
I know you kind of already do that a little bit with your Twitter feed. You're pretty open with people, which I love. But yeah, we're just going to pick your brain today. And then we really want to share your story just so that we can, learn a little bit more about how you got into all of this, and people can hear your whole backstory, because I know it's pretty crazy. But can we start there? Could you let us know like where this all began for you and how you first got into dance music?
Well, I first got into dance music when somebody invited me to a party. I had gotten out of college, and I was working at my mom's CPA firm, planning on taking that over. It's also waiting tables on the weekends at nights, and some other waiters and said, "Hey, you want to come to a party?" And I'm like, "Sure," and I'll just go check it out. And just when I opened those doors, it was definitely a life-changing experience. I was very upset that I wasn't aware that this stuff was going on, and I was kind of at a crossroads in my life where I was about to go down this one path. I was engaged to my high school sweetheart, and I was going to be a 9-to-5 person, and I just always felt like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just felt like I was locked into the rest of my life at a young age, and I always felt like I just wanted something more. And kind of when I found the rave scene, that's when I kind of realized that this is what I was looking for. The first show I went to was very small. It was probably like 100, 200 people. And like I said, the mix of people there. There was like b-boys, there was drag queens, there, blacks, whites, Latins, everybody. It was like just a totally mixed crowd, something that I hadn't seen, where I was going out. So where everybody looked the same, and everybody was so nice and welcome. They didn't know me. I wasn't dressed. I was in my waiter outfit. So, I stuck out like a sore thumb, but they kind of took me in, and everybody was really nice and welcoming. So I was kind of just from that point forward, I just made it my job. I was like, well, if I didn't know about this, then think about all the other people that don't know about this. So I just wanted to introduce as many people to it as possible.
I love it. And how old were you? Okay.
How old was it? Okay.
No,
how old were you
at the time?
I was 22, 23. I just gotten out of school. So yeah.
Nice. What were you going to say, MJ?
I'm just trying to see how to optimize an hour, because I happen to know Donnie, and I know that we can go on for 10 hours probably listening to the story. And, to a lot of people today that are going to be watching this now, Donnie has just done, something that really shows who he really is, which is, he's shown leadership, and he's really gone and taken risks and was at the front of the lines and produced the first festivals and brought joy back to so many. And I know people appreciate that, but what people don't know about Donnie is a story, and that story is really long. And I really want them to kind of take us through the highlights, of what kind of made him, and, the big moves that ended up shaping that journey that gets here, because he's got so much to tell, and I don't know where to start asking.
Fair enough.
How the hell did you get here?
How did I get there? I don't even know. I mean, it took a lot of luck, some hard work. It's been a long journey, and I was almost out so many times. I can't even count. So just to even make it past all the trials and tribulations, and to get to this point where I'm still doing it and still enjoying doing it, and hopefully doing it well. It's crazy to me. Even when we walked in at LBW, and and I saw everything that was going on, I had to turn to my wife, and I'm like, I can't believe that I do this. This is what I do. I don't know how I went from passing out, being like a street promoter to running a whole event. I mean, not by myself, but with my team, right. But being in charge of it at the top. It's mind blowing to me to that even what we pull off. So. I don't know how I got here, but I'm just glad I arrived here.
From what I know of you is you don't actually understand the meaning of something cannot happen. And so when you think that everything is possible and you see it, then why can't you make it work? And you seem to always be happy. But, the first big break, when did you get, and which market was it? Because most people won't know. Right now, they'll be surprised by your answer, I think. But what market did you start out with doing your own shows where they've gotten to be somewhat big? I'm not even talking about thousands, just some hundreds of people. Where was it first?
Yeah, so I was in New Orleans, and I was just promoting for people for free. I would take the flyers off the table and pass them around. I'd go out every night and try to get people to come to the shows. Then people started offering to hire me. And I wasn't doing it for money. But then, immediately when somebody says, I'm going to pay you, and then they don't, then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I learned a quick lesson about the industry, right? It's not what you see from the forward facing side is not what's going on in the background. I quickly learned, that was my first lesson in the industry, that you probably can't trust a lot of people that are working in it. I mean, you can trust some, but not many. Mm-hmm. So, and then I just started telling people, if you want to work with me, I'll do it for half the door. And nobody blinked. And because I was out there hustling and getting people to the shows. And yeah, so basically I went from just being a guy on the dance floor to, through a series of not anything I was doing. I mean, I was just working hard, but in about the series of like 12 to 14 months, I was like the biggest promoter in the city, and I had just gotten in the scene. And it was basically just people. I had a partner that was, I guess, he might have been like the number one promoter, and I was kind of under him. And we did a big a Mardi Gras show, and it made good money. It made like $12,000, which is a lot of money. That's like $1 billion Bitcoin in the 90s. So basically, he was like, you take the artist to the hotel, and meet me back at the house, and we'll do the settlement. So by the time I dropped off the artist and got back to his house, his roommate said, "Oh, he just moved to Houston." So he basically just took all the money. Well, but in that respect, he elevated me to like the top promoter. I had the best venue, and it wasn't any.
So you bought him out for 12 grand.
$6,000, and he was out. So yeah. So I mean, it was just it was a crazy for me to move up that fast. And yeah, I mean, so that's kind of got where I got to be like the top dog in New Orleans.
Donnie, what type of music was at all those shows? Who was playing? What sound?
We mostly had in like the mid 90s, we didn't have a lot of, I'm dating myself now. Their internet was a baby, and we didn't have like a lot of information on music or different styles or anything. And so we basically based off almost all of what we were doing based off of like flyers that we got from like the Northeast. So, we were booking a lot of Northeast artists, Midwest artists. So, that's kind of where we got our basis. Nobody that you would know, nobody that you would know now, but some Midwest heroes. I mean, we booked like Scott Henry, Astro Boy from St. Louis. It was mostly, we were copycatting. We didn't have any information. I mean, the only way to even get music.
Rave music, rave electronic music?
Yeah, it was all rave stuff. Yeah, I didn't know. This was before like where I realized there was genre specific stuff. We just didn't know.
No.
I'm curious what the crowd was like at that point too, like compared to what it is now, where I feel like a lot of people have expectations of shows. Like, what was the evolution like of the crowd you were seeing at that time?
I mean, the crowd it was still a mix. Like there was like hip hop kids or like, B-boy stuff. There was candy ravers at the time. Like I had said earlier, there was, it was all kinds of different people. So, I mean, it was a weird mix. I mean, I look back at the pictures and it's hard for me to, the girls all had giant jeans on, and this was totally different then. The ravers were clothed back then. I mean, that's the big difference. Right. Now they're not.
Fair enough. Yeah. That's awesome to hear though. I mean, were you thinking, like, how much were you thinking about big picture back then? Or were you just super focused and extremely busy at the time?
I wasn't thinking big picture. I wasn't even thinking that it was a career or anything like that. I was just, I kind of had I knew it was something that was growth, but I never thought it could go on this long. I mean, I wasn't thinking about, I didn't have a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan.
Yeah.
I was just trying to make, I had a good venue, so it was a theater. So I was able to map out my schedule, maybe 6-8 months in advance. And that's about as far as I went, but I never thought I'd still be doing this.
So to that point, when do you launch the very first phase of what Disco Donnie Presents is now, where was an event that was different from working at that same one venue?
No, I mean, even like starting into like the late 90s, I started branching out and working with people like in Houston and Atlanta and regional stuff. It was just a lot different because I couldn't say that I was working in that city because it was back then, everything was very territorial. So each city it was like the mafia. It's kind of like the mafia today, but it was like a different mafia. So each city had its own like group of, families or something. And if anybody went from one city to another city, that would get people really upset. But I was able to work with some different people. And that's when I kind of started looking at like possibly branching out and doing multiple markets.
Got it. Okay.
And what was the first big show, big show that you remember?
No, we were doing, I mean, this theater, we ended up being able to expand it. First of all, in 98, I did a 8,000 person festival at the college, and it went till 6 a.m. And that was 8,000 people at that time is probably like 20, 30,000 people right now. And so, we went to 6 a.m. Everything was great. And of course they wouldn't invite us back. But by 99 and all that, I was able to, at this theater, we were able to expand, and they had some buildings next to it. We were able to build doorways, passages, and we were able to build 4 spaces. We built 4 different stages. We were able to do a stage on the roof, on the deck. So we could do 5,000-6,000 people a month at this theater, and we were.
And when you were doing this 8,000 people college festivals, who was the headliner? Who was the big act? What music was it?
For the one we had at I think Sugar Hill Gang was the headliner. Of course, they canceled. So I think we ended up with like Grandmaster Melly Mel, it was Sugar Hill Gang and Grandmaster Melly Mel, but we ended up getting African Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force. So I think they were like the headliners. And then we had Frankie Bones, Bad Boy Bill, DJ Icy.
So those are big names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For sure.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. So how does it evolve from there? I mean, at the time, was this still considered more underground, the scene, or was it getting a little bit more mainstream or more popular?
I mean, I think some people considered it underground, but we were selling tickets on Ticketmaster.
Okay.
The venue was running radio ads, which made a lot of people upset. So it was definitely it wasn't the scene that I had gotten into. It was definitely becoming more popular and more commercial. And as the influx of these new people came in that were considered, I guess, the scene was originally made up by a bunch of people, like a pretty cool club. And that's kind of what they wanted to keep it as. And as these new people came in, it started pushing out the originators of the scene, and all the cool people kind of left.
Got it. I'm so curious your thoughts on the scene now too, but we'll get there because it's so different now. But so you started doing these large scale events. How big of a team were you working with at that point?
I think, I had promoters and then I had people that I hired, but at the time it was just basically me and the venue. So wow. I didn't really have a team.
Man. Okay. So then when does it scale up a little bit? And was there an interest in festivals for a long time, or was that just a natural evolution for you?
It was hard at the time to get festival venues. And so the scene really scaled up until about 2000, 2001. Mm-hmm. And then there was a lot of large European festivals that were coming over in the summer of 2001. And they ended up having canceled because of low ticket sales. And that was kind of like we were thinking we finally had made it. They were playing electronic music on MTV. And we're like, okay, now here comes these European festivals. This is our big break. And it was kind of showing the signs of wear and tear that that something was going on with the scene. Like there was a changing in people's, I guess, taste. And which happens a lot in America, that people just go from one thing to another. And and they're not locked into anything for very long. So that was kind of like a warning sign. And at the same time, like hip hop was really hitting at the new genesis of it. And also, we were having a lot of legal issues. So kind of like a big tsunami on the rave scene all at once. And then 9/11 hit, and then that kind of like that changed it all for everything. When we came back, a lot of people that were going to shows that didn't come back.
Got it. MJ, you said you felt the same thing in New York, obviously, around the same time. I think you said that time frame was, you saw a lull.
Yeah. Well, things are changing. It's, as Donnie says, one of the reasons why I think now the scene is growing, it's actually because people like to switch. And that's why house music is growing, because, it's becoming trendy. Everybody's jumping on it. No one's to say what's going to happen here in 5 years. But back then things were changing. Yeah.
It's harder to put together shows, I can imagine. And how do you work through things like that? Because I feel like at this point you've gone through all different types of evolutions and learning lessons and things like that. But where did you shift your focus to throughout those few years?
Well, we kept on doing shows. We just had to scale it differently. And it took us a while to figure out that people weren't coming, and like I said, these people came in that were the cool people that were there. They left, and then new people that were just doing it because it was the cool thing to do. They left. So, the only person that was left was me, and so it was some very lean years in
which years are this?
Like 2001, 2, 3. I mean,
I kid you not. I literally at some point, like in a 2 or 3. What Terminal 5 is now in New York used to be Exit, and we did, electronic music there for years. And then in 2003, I think I was the last one standing. We were doing hip hop, mainstream hip hop.
Yeah,
it was hard all, New York turned into VAPs and tables, and electronic music just vanished just like that. All the clubs just closed, and it was just like done.
Yeah, like somebody just hit the stop button. It was kind of hard to see because this is, that's what I did. And I didn't do hip hop or country. I just did electronic music. So, and at the same time, my wife got a residency at Ohio State. So I had moved to Columbus, Ohio, and then I started doing shows in the Midwest, and that was rough, but there was, I just went to all the markets where they had been big markets, thriving markets and thriving scenes. And I went to the local promoter and said, hey, this is I know it's bad right now, but you got to keep doing shows. I'll back you. We'll keep doing shows, keep tickets. We'll get their data. And when it comes back, we'll be top dog in the city. I didn't know it was going to take like 7 or 8 years. So I was, but yeah, I mean, it was very tough times in early to mid 2000s where it didn't look like we really had much going on. I mean, it was, to be a rave promoter was probably, that's pretty low on the totem pole, or like things like not to say to people, oh, what do you do for a living? It was definitely a rough, and it was hard to explain to a lot of friends in my family. Why you keep trying this? Get a job. My wife told me, same. I got a job.
Yeah.
I can so relate to those years. I mean, even now, sometimes we have these conversations with Elvira when we're having mini fights, and she recalls the years where she worked and I was working all the time, making nothing. And I was doing hip hop, and then million of small house music parties until maybe late 2004. The house kind of have started coming back, or maybe very late 3 a little bit, and then 4. But in mid 4, we were starting to get back in New York, and then it kind of went up. Yeah, and it's simply because all the leaders that were driving that scene kind of slowed down. The funny thing is, a lot of these people are out now when they're in their 50s, but during those years they just stopped and the scene just changed.
Yeah.
And so how do you? And then Disco Donnie Presents, the big Disco Donnie Presents, the one that is doing the festivals and shows all over the country. There had to be a point where it just you've done something, right? I mean, you brought more people to the team, or you started managing some artists that blew up, or what? How did you go into what then started the bigger Disco Donnie Presents company?
Well, I mean, I was started working with Pastor Paul like in '99, and we were doing Electric Daisy Carnival and Nocturnal Wonderland. So I was still getting, and we were getting. There wasn't a lot of people. I mean, like 6,000 people. We got that up to like 10,000 people. I mean, this is in the this is mid 2000s, and I was still doing all the club stuff. I did Starscape and in Baltimore, and which was a festival, and then I backed a festival in New York. So I was still trying to do things. I was doing festivals in Philly, but I mean everything was small on a smaller scale than what they had been in the late '90s. So, and we were still doing a ton of club shows, keeping everything moving. And yeah, I mean I just kind of spread out from Seattle to Miami to New York to San Diego. I mean, everywhere. I was working with everybody, anybody that wanted to work with me, and so that's kind of where we built up the thing. And I think I started getting a team built like in 2007, 8, when I realized that I used to like to control everything and do everything myself. And when I finally realized that, when I finally gave just a little thing up, I realized I was doing it wrong the whole time, because I could have gotten so much more accomplished if I would have just trusted somebody else to do it, help me.
Yeah, same. Delegating and trusting someone to do it. That's the hardest job. But what you've said now, and a lot of people are looking at, your website and seeing, I don't know how many shows you do now a year, 1,000 shows a year and all these festivals. And the question that comes to mind, and people asking me, and honestly, I don't give the answer because I don't really know it. I'm just guessing it. So why don't you give? When you went to all these guys and girls in Seattle and Houston, you're the guy from New Orleans, you are in Ohio in college. What was the value Disco Donnie was bringing to the table? Why were the promoters in all these markets? Obviously, you knew something that they didn't, or you had built value that they couldn't. What was Disco Donnie at heart, and then became today? Why were they working with you in all these different markets? Couldn't they do it themselves?
I mean, so at the time, I mean, I guess some of them could. I had good relationships. I mean, always, because when artists and agents would come to New Orleans, they would stay for a week. So I was able to build that up. And then I also spent a lot of time in the early days, you're talking to other promoters and being friendly with them and trading information and sending them flyers and stuff. I just took a different tact of like, hey, let's help each other. Let's not fight each other. Let's try to work together. And yeah, I mean, I think what I was offering at the time was financial stability. Even though I didn't have any money, I pretended like I did. So I think they liked that part. And yeah, I was building something bigger, and I think people wanted to be a part of that. But yeah, I was very easygoing, no contracts, no, just handshake deals. And I think that made people comfortable, and I put their logo first. I made them the star, and so I just went in unassuming and said, hey, I'm going to help you, and if you want it, if not, then no, I'm not going to come here without you inviting me.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Did you have any favorite markets at the time, or even now, to build these festivals in, or favorite locations?
Well, I mean, we do a lot in Texas and Florida. So, I mean, I think that's where a large group of our fan base is. They're very hungry, and they didn't really have a lot. So yeah, I mean, that's always been some of the best places to do shows.
How has the marketing changed for these events over the years too? Like in 2008, 2009 versus trying to get fans to attend events now?
Well, I mean, if you go back to when we started, I mean, the marketing's changed a lot. You used to have to pass out flyers, and there was no Facebook. There was barely any internet. We used to have voicemails where people would call and get the information. And so it's a lot easier now to target people that are into this music, and so through all the social media platforms and different ways that you can find out who the fan base are and get the ads in front of their face. That's made our life a lot more simpler. Instead of spending so much time beating the streets trying to drum up people to come to the shows, we just push a button and put $500 on it, and you get everybody that what you want to see it gets to see it.
Right. What's the most fun for you now? Because obviously the passion has been there this entire time, which has been a driving force, even when it got quieter. And then you had this whole past year with no events. So yeah, what's the motivation and behind everything?
Well, I used to hate working on the shows, but I used to love going to the shows just to see everybody and all the interaction. And somehow now I feel like I love putting the shows together, but then I'm not a fan of really going to them so much because I got to go out. I have to leave my RV and I have to go talk to people. But maybe we got a little introverted during this time. So I've been struggling with that in the last two festivals. I've had to say, okay, I'm going to go out of this trailer for 2 hours and I'm going to talk to people, and then I go, and then hide in the trailer the rest of the time. So, that's kind of my feeling right now. So I could change soon, but let's see.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with an overwhelming amount of what would cause anxiety for 99.99% of people. So,
Yeah. Well, it's just, I'm not worried. I like doing it. It's just having that same conversation over and over and over again. I just dread that. So, but that's what you got to do.
Yeah. And so now with the last few events that you've done with even WW or Sunset, what were some of the challenges that have come about now versus pre-pandemic? Anything different?
Oh yeah. A lot different. We decided to move forward with WW 7 weeks before the show. And so it was very challenging, and I never ever felt like I never knew if I was making the right decision or I really didn't feel any inner peace until the show was over. So, it was a real struggle internally and to try to put that on. And doing a festival, just a normal festival with all the moving parts and everything going on is super complicated and time consuming, but trying to do it with COVID and the pressures of that and the ever changing landscape that was happening the numbers are down. Oh, now the numbers are spiking. So it's just it was just an added layer of stress. It just, it took it was definitely a big struggle to pull it off.
What I think is going to happen, actually, I feel like, and I really want to go back a few steps, just because, again, this is a podcast that a lot of people in the industry will watch, and a lot of fans who want to work in the industry or really, really care about people in the industry will watch. And I think your story is just too special, and we skipped all of it. But so we'll go back to a few steps, because I do want to talk about how far I've gone with Pasquale in DC and selling the company to SFX and that headache, and you don't have to say much, just few things how it all went out. But I think what happens to Disco Donnie Presents now is actually very different. See, I think what you've done now is you've done the opposite of what a lot of promoters do. You've reestablished your human persona out there, because there are a lot of festivals out there right now that don't really have a face next to it, just a festival. And so as a result, the festival, the brand has a fan base, but I think you're now in position to lead a brand new chapter that's going to be bigger than anything you've ever done. I think you're in a really good position, and people in the industry and the fans will follow. But it wasn't an easy road, right? You now have your company back, and congratulations on that.
Mm-hmm.
But how fast did the past 10 years go? Because there was so many things happening, with SFX and selling the company, being the first acquired by SFX, and then helping them build what they've built, and all that stuff. Any stories that would help people that are listening now and really don't know that area and missed it? Anything that you want to tell them?
So yeah, I mean, start like 2007, 2008. I rolled the Disco Donnie brand into Insomniac, and we started doing EDC Orlando and Wonderland Seattle and EDC Dallas, EDC Puerto Rico, EDC New York, and sometime at the end of 2011. Pasquale told me that, I didn't own any of that. I could lease it from him. So, that was like a shock that I had taken my whole team down this road and all my partners and everything. So at that point, I just pivoted, and I took the assets that I did have, created a deck, and literally within 2 months after that conversation, I had a handshake deal with Bob Sillerman to sell my company to SFX. And so, I went out there and I brought in other people and helped them build it all out. I think the theory of it and of having a company where all these promoters are under one roof, sitting at one table, I think that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the execution was poor. It was. I was proud of the day that it went up on NASDAQ, and I could see it up there, and it was a real thing, because a lot of people doubted it. And it's unfortunate, but it wasn't run right. And it ended up going bankrupt, which was another challenge that we just had to deal with. But it's like, you just have to keep going. And, the whole thing with that was I just basically told everybody, look, your money is, you're always going to get paid with me, because I'm not going to ever just say, oh, no, sorry, we're bankrupt. You're always going to get your money. And everybody that we owed money as far as DDP goes, they got their money. Mm-hmm. So I just had to do it some sly ways, but I've been doing this a long time. And so I made sure everybody got paid. And so, going through bankruptcy was rough. There was a lot of mistrust with the agents and with people you were working with for a long time. So it wasn't easy, because, it felt like I had a lot more credit when I was independent with people, and besides when I was part of a big company. That was a couple of years of the bankruptcy. Then we were coming out of bankruptcy, and then we rolled into a new company called Lifestyle, and they tried to run it similar to how SFX was. And when that wasn't working, I asked if I could purchase my company back. And this is like right before COVID, and I was able to acquire my company April 1st of 2020. Right when everything was shutting down. Mm-hmm. So, but the good part was that I was able to, offer refunds to everyone that had bought tickets, and I was able to keep my whole staff employed throughout COVID. So, and I know a lot of other people weren't as a lot of other companies can't say the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And what's funny, when you got on a Zoom call and I saw your T-shirt, I said, these days, free Disco Donnie means a lot of different things. It really does.
This is from Twitter, because they.
I know where it came from, but it also means other things today.
Yeah, it does. It has a lot of meanings behind it. Yeah, no. They're always telling me to have to take stuff down on Twitter, and so.
No, don't. It's the best.
Well, congratulations on having your baby back. And, sky's the limit of what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
It was important. It all turned out, I guess when we're talking to the industry people, you just got to have to you have to deal with the challenges as they come and just keep on moving. And I mean, it was important. A lot of people thought I was crazy for buying my company back at the time, but it felt right to me. And if I wouldn't have made that move, there's no way RBW would have happened or Sunset would have happened, because I would have had to get permission, and it would have been impossible to make that happen. So by me being independent and being able to make my own choices, that was the only way those shows would happen.
Mm-hmm. The timing of that is everything. Yeah.
Tickets, and then it works out. It doesn't always work out, but it did for me this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other advice for anybody who's considering a career in the festival industry or wants to get into this business?
Yeah, don't do it. Just quit.
That's what I tell everybody. Forget it. Go.
Light your money on fire, and then So
fair enough.
No, I say the same thing. I do.
I get a lot of people hitting me up that they want to be in the business, and I just don't even know where to start, what to tell them. I'm like, hey, you got to go and you got to work your way up, and it's like, well, I'm like, what do you want to do? It's like, I don't know. I just want to be in the business. Like, well, first of all, you got to do a bunch of different jobs in the business and figure out what motivates you and what you're good at. I would recommend trying them all. And you might have to beat on a bunch of doors or start small, but you have to work hard. It's not like something that you can just learn overnight, right? I mean, I'm still learning, and that's the big thing. I think people think there's like a book you can read, and like it's not like college. It's like basically, you have to learn it by doing it.
And so and this is literally why we started Festival Insider. Exactly what you said is word to word is what I said. When I spoke to Emma, we started it so that people that want to be in it get to hear the stories like yours and the other guests that we're inviting from the industry, and realize how big of a journey it is and how many years of not making money and not sleeping it takes to get anywhere. And also that this is just like any other sector. You first to become really good at something so you can create value for others. And then you have to go and just keep climbing up until you have your place in this game. Because to do what you do, that's going to be only a handful of people, let's be honest. And for everybody else who just wants to be in it because they want to be in it, that's a wrong reason to be in it. So yeah, this is why we're doing this project. We really want to and have been talking to everyone from, attorneys to promoters, from production folks to artist management to agents, just to share everyone's stories so that everyone has a good idea of what it takes. And it takes more than most people are willing to commit,
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, and the people that get these jobs, they stick with them. So there's not a lot of turnover sometimes. So, it's tough for me to say for when people ask me how to break into the business, but I just always tell them, they got to keep trying and don't take no for an answer. And if they really love it and they're really committed, they'll get in there somehow.
What's the secret of keeping such a great team like you have together for so many years with everyone being happy? Or at least...
Well, are they happy or... That's not what they told me. No. I mean, we just do it make it kind of like a sense of family. And so I get upset sometimes or whatever, but I never try to demean them or treat everybody. I also treat everybody we work with like in the same way, where I'm very kind of steady with it. And basically they see that my interactions with people, it's not like it's like a boss relationship. It's like we're all part of the same team, all trying to make the same goal. And, I let them have a lot of input. I already know what the answer is, but I will say, what do you think? And so
I look at for validation or advice.
No. I mean, I want them to be engaged, because I'm not always sometimes they got to make the decisions. And if I want them to be empowered to be able to make decisions. I mean, and if they mess up, I'm going to say, hey, why did you do that? But I wasn't there, so I can't really complain. But next time try to do it this way. So, I mean, I think if you talk to people like that and you keep them engaged and like where they are a part of it and feel like they're putting it together, I mean, I think that keeps people happy. And I mean, I've been very fortunate to have very low turnover. I think somebody did a study on our team or whatever, and it was like triple the rate of what normal companies are, the people that stay. So I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing something right.
And then from perspective of the future in America and where the music is going, very curious to know what you think. Let's look 2 years from now at, the festivals like EDC or Electric Zoo, the mainstream, the mixed festivals. Who do you see playing the top spots on main stage in 2 years? Any names?
We probably don't even know. There's probably some kid right now that's that we don't even
that doesn't even know how to produce yet, but they're about to open the Mac. Yeah, exactly.
But he wants to do it. He wants it. So it's hard to say. I mean, stuff moves so fast that it's really hard. And I think on those big festivals are doing great. And then you have like a lot of people that are doing genre specific festivals, like the house and techno guys.
Well, that's kind of the question. Like, do you see the main stage being, like the way I see it, it's either basically the same headliners, but they're playing different music, or it's people that are playing different music.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, I mean, I could see that. I mean, if it keeps developing, it'll be interesting if that keeps evolving here. I mean, there's one thing that I'm very interested in seeing, because normally we have, what we're looking at on our numbers of people the ages of the people that go to the show, and our age group we're getting older every year. And you think it's a lot of people under 21 because they're not wearing any clothes. So they look, oh, that person looks young, but no, they're actually over 21. And so, I mean, our scene is aging as a whole. And I'm interested to see, like, we always had people leaving the scene, and then we always had an influx of new people coming in the scene. And a lot of that was driven by live events. And so, we've gone almost 14 months without live events. So we've had people leaving the scene, but I'm not sure if we had the same influx of people coming in. So I'm very interested to see, like, in 3 or 4 years, what this looks like as far as like the numbers and the scene, because we have like a lost generation here of people that weren't able to come to shows. We didn't expand at all. So if that crowd keeps getting older and older, the musical tastes tend to go towards the more house and techno side, like you kind of see like in Europe.
I'm so glad you said that, because I'm in touch with the community on a daily basis, and I probably almost every day get a question about, am I too old to rave? Or like 30 plus ravers, people who are just starting now and cannot wait to attend as many shows as possible. So I completely agree with you on the age.
But that's like a rhetorical question, right? Because if you're going to tell them you're too old to rave, they're going to argue with it. They're not. Of course they're not. It's
never.
The forever young people. This is
Yes.
a different life and generation. I think that while we had no shows, a lot of people also listening to new music. So exciting to see where it all goes. We love you, man. Thank you for making the time and wearing your head backwards.
Oh, we're good? All right, good. Because I was like, I got like 8 minutes left. My dog's making grunt noises, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do anything. I have no privacy.
Oh, no, this was awesome chatting with you. I'm super excited for the future of your events and can't wait to see what you guys do next. So thank you for taking the time today.
Okay, well, edit it, chop it up good, make me look smart.
I don't know if that's possible, but we will try. But we love you, and best luck.
Love you too.
Let us
meeting
know
you
when you come to New York or Miami or somewhere.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
One day I'll leave the house again.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Hey.
I didn't do it this time. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, you can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at Festival Insider. We're on YouTube now if you want to follow us on YouTube, and we want to hear your feedback. So definitely leave us some comments and let us know who you want to hear from on upcoming episodes.
Yeah, and we're probably gonna go to Twitch soon. Tell us where you want us. Tell us what is it that you want from us. Remember that we're doing this for you. Tell us who to invite. Tell us what to talk about. We'd love to have meaningful conversation. We are doing this to build a community. We are doing it to bring closer the industry and the fans. And we love you guys. Please just send us comments. Let us know that you are out there watching and listening, so we know that this actually matters, and we'll continue.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being there. Thank you for being patient. And we're excited to bring you a bunch of really incredible interviews coming up. So yeah, thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey insiders, thanks for watching this video. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to our channel, or feel free to check out our recommended videos. Thanks for watching.